everybody, and welcome to this edition of the Racing Insiders podcast. I am Kate Dillon from Crate Insider, and I am here today with Steve Hendren from Hendren Racing Engines. And happy Monday, Steve.
Yeah, it's been a day. No, we were actually pretty busy. I was busy with phone calls today, yes. So that's always a good sign.
Yeah. Oh, and Alan says everything looks and sounds good now. So thank you. Thanks so much for letting us know on that. Sure appreciate it, because we don't really know. So anything new in your world?
No, not really. I mean, just like working. I mean, there's nothing super new. Just, trying to stay ahead of the curve.
You're going to need to speak.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Just trying to stay ahead of the curve. So,
Well, you're about to go into busy season, right?
It's getting close. Yeah. I mean, honestly, usually this time of year is our slow time of the year, because most guys are racing and, you don't want anybody to tear anything up or ruin anything. I mean, it happens on occasion, but so this is normally our slowest time of the year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now there'll be maybe in September is when all the big specials start.
Yeah. And then October normally marks our busiest time of the year, or as we start into it. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Yeah. I didn't actually have a list of questions this week. So
yeah, that's unusual actually.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
Kind of amazed by that.
Yeah. I think my big thing has nothing to do with racing, but I did the whole Barbenheimer thing this weekend. I did. Yeah. I mean, right. It's a trend, and I was like, I don't know, it sounds fun. And so I did not. Oh my goodness. If you want to watch them as a double feature, that's 5 hours in the theater. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a lot.
5 hours. So
I would probably fall asleep.
I didn't want to do that. So I did see Barbie on Saturday, and I saw Oppenheimer yesterday.
There you go.
Yeah. So that way it was split up between a couple of days, but yeah. So I liked doing it. I dressed up different one. I was pink one day and wearing black the next, so anyway, it's kind of fun. And it was a worthwhile experience,
nice.
Just kind of say you did it. It's fun.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. Okay. So I'm not seeing any comments here. Now, what about any questions you've received this week? Anything like that?
No, not really, honestly. I mean, nothing that rings a bell. No, I mean, yeah, I could talk about some stuff, but I don't really want to talk about it on here, because you said, no, we can't bring up any controversy on here. So,
yeah.
No.
Well, you could always go live on Hendren Racing Engines channel.
Well, there's that, but we'll see.
Okay. Gotcha. Cool. Yeah, that's pretty much all of my news.
This is gonna be a boring ass podcast.
It is. I don't see any questions, and I didn't bring anything to the table here. So,
no, I didn't either,
if I did get an email today from Chili's, and apparently it's National Tequila Day.
Oh,
so they wanted you to celebrate with a margarita. But I see you've got a Heineken there.
I have a Heineken.
So. Okay.
Wait.
I know.
I'm so used to the other camera.
Like the cameras that are right there. So, yeah, and nothing is.
We're gonna have some good old Holland beer.
Yeah. Tonight. Yeah, there we go. Oh, look at that. We don't have the bad Wi-Fi signal anymore.
Oh, okay.
The little symbol on here. I know. It's crazy.
I don't know what the hell's going on. But yeah, I mean, anybody got any questions, drop them in. Happy to answer them, or to the best of my ability or your ability, depending on what the question is.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it's kind of one of those days. I would like to congratulate my very good customer, Jeremy Steele, on winning $5,000 at Cherokee Speedway in Gaffney, South Carolina this last Saturday. And he pretty much dominated that whole race.
I watched it on Race Monitor.
Dylan Brown, he would have ran second, but he tossed a fan blade and ripped the water pump off from his motor.
Oh, yeah. So, I knew that he dropped out, but I didn't know why.
Yeah, he'd have run second at least. I mean, they probably would have had a really good race towards the end, but he tossed the fan blade, and then my son, we didn't tighten up enough, so we sucked. Basically, is how that night went. Yeah,
I was watching it all on Race Monitor, and what was crazy is they ran one lap, and there's a yellow flag, and I'm watching this, and I'm like, what in the world is going on? I think it was maybe 30 minutes later, I'm texting Tori's at the race, and I'm texting her. I'm like, what in the world is going on?
Yep.
I mean, these guys are going to run out of gas if this keeps going on, because I wasn't there at the race. And so I'm thinking, when I see a yellow flag, that means that they're continuing to parade around.
Right.
If it's a red flag, then they're not parading around. Well, I mean, and then I understand it was so dusty that they're like 7 cars were the carnage of lap 1.
Lap 1 and the other restart, which would still be lap 1.
Oh,
they had 1 lap completed.
Right.
And
then they pulled everybody off and watered the track.
Yeah, they had to water.
It was 59 minutes and like 40 seconds of yellow flag. Exactly. And I was like, what in the world is going on? So
yeah, it was utter shit show, honestly.
Yeah, there's not a flag for that. I actually that kind of it was painful to watch.
It was painful to be there. I mean, it kind of is what it is. But no, that was not cool.
All right, so we do have a questions here. Right. So let's see. Chad says, which do you prefer, a 602 or 604?
Well, I mean, it just depends on the application. I mean, obviously, if you're allowed to run a 604, then that would be my first choice. 602, obviously, my second choice. But I mean, I don't have a preference either way, because usually most classes are spelled out by either or. I think in some of the late model stuff, you can still run 602s against 604s, but you can never run a 604 against a 602 in most divisions.
Gotcha.
If it specifies 602. Hello, Pipsqueak.
Okay, another question. John asks, do you have any trouble with 602 heads cracking?
Very rarely, actually. I know what you're referring to. It's a thin wall casting. It's a vortec head. So no, not unless you're experiencing extreme temperatures have I seen one crack. That would be extremely rare. Pippi.
I know, Pippi's helping.
He's all right.
Okay, so Travis asks running 10.
Wait, is that? Hang on. Can we go back?
What?
That's not John Pine from Australia, is it?
I don't know. It says John Pine.
Yeah. I knew a John Pine in Australia back when I used to race there.
Okay. Well, John, are you from Australia? And are you the same John Pine that he knows? I mean, I guess we'll find out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
So Travis says running 1030 Schaffers in a 604 crate in 94-degree weather. Oil pressure down to 25 at idle after 25 lap feature. Thoughts on going to 2050? And he says in his subsequent comment, he's on alcohol.
On methanol? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you probably could in that scenario. I don't necessarily like the 2050 aspect of it. I would certainly go to like a 1040, and that will help that. But, that being said, at an idle, it's 25 pounds. I don't really give a shit what it is at an idle. I mean, you need to be more concerned about what it is on the track at full throttle. So I think you're probably fine. But the 1040 will help keep the lifters pumped up once the oil temperature gets up that high to where you're actually experiencing those oil pressures.
Great. Okay, next up, Richard says, will your Hendren 604 carb on E85 work on a 602 crate engine?
100%. Yeah. So we actually, there's very little difference between the 602, 604, and even, believe it or not, the 525 on those carburetors. So that carburetor will work on any of those 3 combinations.
All right, next up. This question's for me. I get a question now.
There you go.
David asks, hey, Kate, do you sell 5-pound fire suppression systems? Yes, I do. I sure do. Yeah, we've got, I wasn't prepared, so I'm trying to think of what iterations we have, whether they're automatic or if they're manual. I don't think I have a both situation with the 5-pound, the 5-pound ones, but I'd have to look. Yeah. So yeah, I think they're either manual. Manual means that you pull the cord and that's when they go off. And then automatic would be where they've got the little glass tube that will break at 170 degrees and automatically set off the system.
I do prefer the automatic. I mean, I've run both, obviously, because the original ones were all, manual pull, but the automatic is I've got my own son's car just because, if you're unconscious, you can't pull a cord. So,
well, no, the one in Alex's car is the automatic and manual.
well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's automatic and manual, but if you're unconscious, you cannot pull a cord. So I would not just run the manual one. I would run the automatic.
Right. In a 5-pound system, I don't have one that's automatic
it's gotta be 10.
and
it's got to be 10 then.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right. Sorry.
Yep. All right. So Fred says, hit the wall, ran hot, last 7 laps. Schaffers and Daytona 1 additive definitely saved my motor.
Oh, good deal. Glad to hear
Nice.
it.
Nice. That's great.
That
Not that you hit the
additive
wall.
is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks you hit the wall.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, to save your engine, that's great.
Yep.
And Travis says, okay, thanks. Yeah, when I idle up, it gets back up above 40.
Yeah.
Just wanted to check because it just blew a motor with 10 nights on it. And this is a brand new one. So wanted to be careful. Have never had a problem before.
Yeah, no, I think you'll be all right, man.
Cool. And John Pine says, yes, still helping guys in Speedway.
Nice. Awesome. Yep.
So do you have any stories with you and John?
We raced against each other at where the hell was that? It was in shit. Probably we raced against each other a couple times. John was badass. He's a damn good racer. Where was that? Shit. It's near Sydney. I can't remember the name of the track just offhand. I think I've got like a little plaque somewhere of racing there. But yeah, no, John's badass. He's a good ass racer. Cool. Him and his brother, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And Tori's got a correction for me. She says, hey guys, AMRC 500 says automatic or manual. Okay, great. I just couldn't recall off the top of my head. I sell a lot of the 10-pound automatic and manual systems, and I just couldn't recall. So yeah, that really would be the best option, like you've talked about, where you've got the automatic, which is the little glass that'll automatically go off, and then it's manual as well, so you can pull the cord. So thanks a lot for that, Tori. Sure appreciate it. And then Scott's got a question. He says, what is the best way to gain horsepower on a 602 with a class having to run only 4412 carbs?
Cheat. I'm obviously joking, but cheat on fuel. Honestly, at that point, it's like essentially like running a go-kart motor. So anything you can do, I wouldn't necessarily be looking at the engine. I'd be looking at what you can do externally. So exhaust, freeing up the car as far as like what wheel bearing. I mean, we learn all this stuff on the chassis now. So what wheel bearings can you run? What hubs are you using? How light is everything? I mean, the thing with crate engines, I don't care whether you're running a 2-barrel or 4-barrel, is light and friction free makes you fast. So anything you can do there is going to help you. I mean, that 2-barrel is just, I mean, you're stuck with that. I mean, that's unfortunately a pile of crap, but I mean, everything you do otherwise, other than that, is going to help you. So
great. Now, I think Josh wants to open up a can of worms on our show here.
Right.
And he says, is it just me or has racing fallen off in the last year or so? What needs to be done to get new folks involved?
Well, I mean, it depends on the area you're talking about. I mean, in the Carolinas, I mean, you've got different series that are, I don't know. It's a weird situation here. If you go up north, no, racing hasn't fallen off. It's gotten better. If you go down south, no, it hasn't fallen off. It's gotten better. Right here in the middle, and it depends on the kind of racing you're talking about. Crate racing, yeah, it's fallen off. Reason being is we don't have a series that, basically comes in here and sanctions a bunch of racetracks. So that's kind of my opinion on it.
Okay, so my question is, are you looking at this from a race car driver standpoint, or are you looking at this from a fan standpoint or promoter?
Well, I mean, kind of, I don't know, all three, maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, promoter standpoint, I don't get, but.
I would say you want to get more people at the track.
Get your opinion, yeah.
Then don't make the shows 8 hours long.
Yep.
I didn't even want to do 5 hours of Barbenheimer, so I did it in 2 sections. People do not have the patience to sit at a track for 6 to 8 hours.
Right.
And who wants to be there so late that it ruins the next day? Yeah. I mean, who wants to be at a racetrack until 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning? I mean, if it's Friday night, then your Saturday morning shot, and that's kind of like your one free day. Well, and if it's Saturday night, it makes it really hard to get up and go to church, and that's important to a lot of people.
Right. And
and so I think I understand that tracks want to make money and run in a bunch of divisions, but have a schedule and follow a schedule. Make it exciting. Make it fun. Don't drag stuff out forever and ever and ever in a day. Go to some some like regional baseball games and see what they do to keep the crowd engaged, and try to take in some of those type of things.
Yeah, it's actually, minor league baseball.
That's what I'm talking about. We've got the Forest City Owls, and I haven't been to an Owls game, but Hickory Crawdads, like any of those regional, those minor league baseball games are going to kind of show the way. Baseball is probably the most boring sport. I mean, hate me all you want, but I think baseball is boring. It's like fun to play, boring to watch. But you go to one of those minor league baseball games and it's a fun experience to be there. And racing should be an experience. It should be an event. It should daze and mesmerize and make it so that it you can connect the people and make it exciting. I think that's the most important part, but it's not exciting when it's 8 hours. Nothing is.
I mean, like this last weekend where we raced, I had high hopes of actually getting out of there at a decent hour. It's Saturday. Okay, we're starting racing at 7, which I have no idea why you're starting at 7 when it's a Saturday. You can start at 6. But at any rate, I was like, oh, we can be out of here before midnight. No, I didn't get home till 1:30. Mm-hmm. Because, like you said, you got a 9-minute delay because, I don't know, track prep wasn't done correct. I have no idea what the scenario was.
I don't either.
It turned into a freaking shit show. And it's during this Peach Festival thing where they're actually trying to draw new people to the racetrack. Well, who the hell wants to sit around and watch that shit? Do you want to sit around for an hour watching pack trucks drive around as the main event cars are parked on the front straightaway? They only had 5 divisions. It's not like their normal 42 damn divisions they run every night. Mm-hmm. So they only had 5 divisions. We should have been out of there done at 11 o'clock.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a schedule should be followed. And if people are going to continue to spin out on the first lap of every heat race, you put a time limit on it, and it's
time limits.
And it's 8 laps or it's whatever, the 15 minutes or whatever it is, and follow that schedule. Follow it to the letter. Because I think one of the things that's really super disappointing is it's so open-ended, and people understand when they go to a baseball game if it's a tied game and there's an extra inning. But what they don't understand is why would anybody understand what's going on out there? That, hey, my kid's getting tired, and my kids are getting, my kids need to get to bed and get a good night's sleep. And I've been at a racetrack where it's 12:30 at night and you haven't even seen one feature race yet.
Well, the idea is it's a family sport. It's what we've always called it.
It's all about family.
So it's all about family. So what are you going to do? Again, like you said, when you got your 5 and 6-year-old with you and you're a fan in the grandstands and it's 12:30 at night for the main event rolls on the track. Or it's, you live 5 miles down the road and it's 2 o'clock in the morning before you get home. Mm-hmm. I know what you're doing. You're leaving at freaking 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock.
Yeah. So what did you get to enjoy? What was enjoyable about that?
And are you going to spend your money doing that again?
And are you going to tell your friends how fun it was? And no, why would you?
Exactly.
No.
And all these tracks that run damn 8 or 9 divisions on a given night.
No.
Do away with that shit.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I have a time limit, and
no, I know.
I'm just not gonna do that. Right. Maybe I don't know. It's just exhausting, right?
Exactly.
All right. So, and Josh says, a lot of those pissing contests between tracks and series doesn't help.
No, it doesn't.
Absolutely. I mean, we got to get on the same page. And that's what's so sad is when I started Crate Insider, I was really hoping that, Crate Insider turned into, an online parts store, but, the original intention was really to try to bring all of crate racing together. I have rules for about every crate series I can find, so if you're a guy who's racing, wherever you are and you're going to go somewhere else and you want to find the rules, they're all in one place. Absolutely. And we do our best to try to keep those updated. And that's a lot to manage. And it's not like everybody releases their rules on the same time.
No, they don't. Or schedules.
No, my goodness. No, I used to do schedules. That was a nightmare. Right. There's a reason why we don't do that anymore.
Exactly.
All right. So let's see. James has a comment here. Oh, and actually, just because we're still on this subject here, Josh says, good point. I had a new family come out for the first time and mentioned, do they always do this? It takes forever. Not saying it's right or wrong, but some of the 604 drivers had input on not watering the bottom side. I think they all learned a painful lesson.
Oh, it was a painful lesson, I think, for everybody. But that was something else.
Yeah. Okay. So James has a comment here. He says, finally found the problem with my 602. It's air getting into the fuel system in the fuel filter assembly. Had a stranger walk up basically and see it in the fuel bowl through the clear sight glass. Been chasing the unknown problem for 3 damn months.
Damn, that sucks.
Wow.
Yeah, that sucks. And it, like, random dude walks up and sees air bubbles in the sight glass.
Dude, why you got air in your carburetor? Yeah, that'd be crazy.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that is a thing too. Is like air leaks, especially on the suction side of the pump. That'll just wreak havoc on everything going on.
Wow. Then Kyle's got a question. He says, hey, Steve, have you done much for dyno testing with the Gibbs-driven GP1 10W30? And if so, how does it compare power-wise to your top-performing wheels?
What I can tell you about the Gibbs stuff, I have tested that time and time again over the years. And what I've noticed, I mean, I don't want to bash anybody's oil, but what I can tell you is the times I've tested it, I can make 5, 6, 7, 8 passes on chassis dyno, and that oil makes power. I can shut the car off, leave it overnight, same weather conditions, same room temperature, same everything the next day, and I'm down on power. So what I've come to determine, my own personal self, is they've got additives in there that'll actually make some power, and it burns out of there. I'm not a fan of the Gibbs stuff.
Gotcha.
I'm just not. And I've done this. I didn't do it once. I've done this like 3 or 4 times, and the results have been the same every time. I mean, does it protect the engine? Does it work? Yeah. Is it my first choice? By God knows. All means no.
Okay. And George is saying hi, and J. Mike Burns says hi. Hey, Kate and Steve. It just reminded me, since Kyle had a question from YouTube, that we just reached 3,000 subscribers for our YouTube channel for Crate Insider. So if you haven't subscribed to us over on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, and help us.
We're not annoying. We don't like bombard you with like crazy ass videos or anything, or like, we don't spam you basically.
I mean, I don't know how you can get spammed on YouTube. But
Crate Insider does not spam you with videos, is what I'm getting at. So.
No, we don't. We don't spam you with email either. So if you want to join our email list, that's a whole different topic. But you should do that. And because we do a recap of the show each week. So that goes up. Yep. And James says, happened to me, changed HEI, plugs, wires, pumps, valve springs, carbs, spacers, battery, fuels, literally everything. And crap luck. And that is back to the air bubble in the carburetor. Wow.
Well, I mean, sucking air on the suction side of the pump probably is what it comes down to. So that's just one bad fitting is all it takes to do that.
It's crazy. And Jason Orr is here from 955 Automotive.
Hey, there's my buddy.
Jason, we should have you on the show.
We should do that. If we can drag him on here.
Jason, will you get on camera with us?
Come on, Jason.
Because you're funny. And actually, you guys could just talk.
We could actually have like a funny conversation.
Yeah, I'd be scared. I might walk away and just
we can talk shit about people.
You can do that on your channel. Not on mine. All right. Jason says, I say dumb stuff. Jason, do you not see who I'm sitting next to?
How what kind of dumb stuff do you say?
I just know you guys like send memes back and forth to each other. That's all I know.
I messaged him last night actually, and said, "Are you awake?" I got to tell you something. He's like, then he sent me a picture. He's at a racetrack. I'm like, all right, shit, I'll call you tomorrow morning. So I called him this morning and kind of told him the stuff from last night. So we had a good laugh about that.
Drama. All right. And Racing for Life says, hey guys, open 602 2-barrel Holly XP. First upgrade since the seals have been broken. 0.93 seconds off the pace. I'm not sure what the question is. Probably how to go faster. Open 602
I don't know
2-barrel
what
Holly.
open 602 means, but
Yeah, I'm not sure. First upgrade since the seals have been broken. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. So if you got
so you're basically a second off the pace.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that could be car.
Yeah.
Honestly. I mean, a lot of people overlook. A lot of people blame the engine.
Mm-hmm.
But it could be car, gear selection, any number of things. Driver. I mean, not knocking the driver, but I mean it could be anything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a second off the pace is
cam or pistons is what he's kind of wondering. Because it's apparently he's got open 602 rules, so they can do other things to it.
So like taking a 602 and you like change the cam and the pistons. Yeah, I mean I've never heard of those kind of rules, but this is like asphalt or something.
I don't know. Engine lugs hard, 3 gear sets higher than guys with the built engine. I don't know. This sounds like a call like you guys could have on the phone.
Yeah, because I got so many questions. Just call me and we'll have a conversation.
Yeah, and I'll put your
because I'm not.
I'll put your here's Steve's phone number right here. 828-286-0780. These are really specific.
Yeah, a lot of
questions.
Times I prefer people call me. Actually, I mean, I get people messaging me all the time, but I prefer people call me because at that point I can actually ask questions and I don't have to sit here and like type, with 2 fingers and waste half my day doing that. So I can probably answer a question in 10 minutes where it would take me like 30 to like type out an answer.
Okay. And Mike says, my buddy, a mechanic, says changing valve springs on his 602 is unnecessary. Mm-hmm. What can I tell him, or what names can I call him to convince him that he's wrong?
A dumbass would be the first thing that I would come across my vocabulary. No, you do need to change valve springs on those things because the 602 valve springs basically suck. They're absolutely horrible. So no, I mean, yeah, I just say, dumbass, change your springs.
Well, there is a big difference between the 602 springs and the 604 beehives. The 602s are pretty weak. I'm sure you've seen some broken springs and really, I mean, I guess when they really start getting out of line and you start dropping power, then, you can really mess up your engine if you don't.
Well, it's not that you're dropping power. It's that you can enter valve float sooner in the RPM range. So, I mean, I normally recommend on my customers on 602s that they're changing springs every 5 races. If they're beating the hell out of the rev limiter, it might need to be every 3 races. So.
Okay. Good deal. Unless you're running against him, and then you can tell him that he doesn't.
Oh yeah, if you're racing against your buddy, then tell him, never change them bitches, dude. Just freaking go.
Fine.
Those things they'll last a whole season.
Yeah. What is it? Just send it.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that would be mean. I guess your number's still up there.
No.
There we go. I'll take that down. Gotcha. Any other comments? Feel free to drop them in here. Otherwise, do you have any announcements or anything exciting?
Nothing really, honestly. This last week was a little bit, again, it was a little bit on the slow side. I mean, we had engines together and stuff, but it was like a little bit on the slow side. So nothing's just like hit me in the head going, hey, we need to answer this question. So
now, you did mention, because for anybody who's watching now, this is take 3 after, technical difficulties, but on the first one, you mentioned you'd gotten several calls today about engines, and sure. You'd referred a couple people to me because Crate Insider, we do have a completed engine that you guys did. You blueprinted, and is it sealed now? Does it have the seals on it?
Yeah, seals are on.
Okay, and it has
Crate USA seal.
Yeah. And so it's got a distributor, wires, a water pump, spark plugs. It's oil primed and all the things that you guys do with marking the balancer and decking the heads, all that stuff. And it's ready to go. And you can just add your own front drive. There's just so many options on that, and depending on what it's going into. That's why I made that call. It's got a waterline kit on it, and you can upgrade it even to the Arts thermostat system. So all of that. Yep. All right. So we got a couple more comments here. So Brian says, howdy, it's been a while since I made a show. So welcome. Yep. Thanks for joining us. And Harry says, thanks for shipping the race van so fast. And thank you, Steve, for the great education. Oh. We finished second out of 33 cars. This podcast truly helps.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear that.
Great.
That is awesome.
Great. Oh, Mike says he's going to tell his friend a dumbass. He likes that.
That's one of my favorite words on it, or 2 words.
Yeah. All right.
Every time when I drive down the road, that's usually what I'm calling everybody in front of me.
Steve continues to be surprised that there's anybody else that owns a car and that they drive on these things called roads and that they're in front of him. And
it's completely annoying. If you can't go 10 over the speed limit, no matter where you're at, get the hell out of the way.
Gosh, you were doing so well.
I know.
You really were. All right. So Darren says, to Mike, tell him every 80 races for 602 Valkyries per race.
Exactly. Just keep going, dude. You got it.
Yeah, you got it. Just
never change those keepers either.
Oh, yeah, never. All right. James says, this is for Steve. Mm-hmm. Do you have a set of vortec heads and or vortec intake that I could purchase for a built motor I'm putting together?
Unfortunately, right now I do not. Reason being is like when a lot of the parts shortages stuff came up here years ago, anything that I had was used. We honestly ended up having to part out. And I mean, we sold to people. So I have nothing right now 602 related. Very few things 604 related.
Okay. Fred says, do you tune the headers when they are new? We do with the added tubes where the heat coloring stops.
Oh, you're talking the old school paint a line on the collector, and that's, or on the extension, and that's where you cut it off. I assume that's what you're talking about.
Sounds like it.
No, that's not something that we do.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of old wives' tale stuff.
Well, I think headers have come to a whole nother level.
Oh, headers are totally different level.
Even in the almost 10 years I've been doing Crate Insider, that headers have made leaps and bounds in the crate world for sure.
Well, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Like sure. It's gone beyond, the old days where, again, like I know I think I know what you're referring to is like you have the collector and you have the extension, and like where the coloring stops, that's where you cut it off. So no, that is kind of old wives' tale stuff.
Gotcha. And then Henry's asking, what is your opinion on Champion plugs?
Yeah, we use them. So,
Champion?
Yeah, I've used Champion before. I don't really have a recommendation for like a crate engine, but years and years ago, we were using those in like super late model engines and limited motors and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And Joe says, hi, 602s on E85. Mm-hmm. Do you have a favorite fuel? Is the E85 available at the gas stations? Bad news.
Yeah. So, I've always been a VP guy, so I'm going to always promote VP. I can tell you that the VP fuel is one of the most consistent that I've ever been around. Like you buy a drum of, X85 today and you buy one 2 months from now and you test it and it's the same. I can't say the same thing for like Sunoco or any of the other brands that are out there. They vary actually quite a bit from my testing. The stuff that you get at gas stations, I would not buy that because of contamination, not only water contamination, but silt and everything else you get on in-ground pumps. So it's not something I would recommend.
So Brian asks, we had the unfortunate experience of ventilating a 604 with low laps. Looking like a rod was a little tight. Blue on the journal.
Yeah, that does not surprise me. honestly. We run into that every day, which is why we do what we do, and take these things apart, and we do what GM can't do, and actually, number one, make them all equal, but number two, guarantee that you're not going to have a tight rod. You wouldn't believe what we've seen. I mean, I've had engines come through with, 5,000 rod bearing clearance. How long is that going to live? You done bought the thing. GM ain't going to cover it because they're going to blame it on, oh, you timed your car wrong or something like it, or timed the ignition wrong or something like that. So no, I mean, a lot of people think that, we got shit for years with the whole blueprinting thing, from a couple series, not like the good series, not the ones that are actually successful right now. But we got shit for years over supposedly selling like a false bill of goods to people. And that's not what we were selling. We were selling basically like an insurance policy because once you buy it, you own it. GM's not going to replace it. It's very rare GM ever does anything to replace anything for anyone who has a catastrophic, failure. I'd say 1 in 1,000, or maybe 1 in 500. So no, we do what we do primarily, like I said, because we can do what GM can't do and make everything equal. And that goes for like my buddy Jason Oron here. He does the same thing. He's in Erie, Pennsylvania, and he does the same thing I do. And the difference between him and I, the thing that he and I share in common is we actually do the work on these things. So, there is a deal right now where a lot of these guys out here, saying we're blueprinting engines are not actually doing it. So taking it apart, change the silicone, put it back together, charging a guy a bunch of money, and got what you got.
Well, tell us a little bit about what it means to blueprint an engine. For instance, like we just put up the engine over on CrateInsider, and I purposely didn't use the word blueprinting because I do have like trauma from a few years ago of all of that, right. Everything that went around, like drama around blueprinting. Well, so instead we say machine to spec. So can you talk about blueprinting? What are the different pieces what are the different actions that you guys perform in your machining process that are included with blueprinting or machining an engine to spec?
So what a lot of people might not realize is these are production line built engines. Just like the one in your passenger car. I mean, it's production line built engine. And other than the 525s are actually hand built. But if we're talking like 602, 604s, they're like production line built. So in that scenario, you can have stack tolerances, or, you've got dudes, you basically got dudes that are in a production line throwing these things together. Are they checking rod bearing clearance? No, they're not. I can tell you that for a damn fact. Are they checking main bearing clearance? Are they checking run out on crankshafts? No, they're not. We had an issue here a while back where number 2, 3, and 4 main bearings on 604 crankshafts actually had stroke ground into them. And, we ended up finally catching that after our own selves losing 2 engines. So it's basically, again, like I said, it's an insurance policy, but what we do, blueprinting means you've got a blueprint. So a house, whatever you've got, like you got a blueprint for your house. So you're doing everything to that spec. And what we work around is we do everything to that GM spec. We don't go above it or below it because there's, tolerances either direction. We don't go above it or below it. We leave room for tech, which is why all of our stuff passes tech. So that's essentially what it is.
Okay. The actual question is, what do you do? So is like you do something with the heads, you do something with the block.
So you're taking the engine apart, you're taking a block. We'll start with a block. You're taking the block, you're checking the line hone, so the main bearing bores. If that's on size, then we don't touch it. If it isn't, then we line hone it. If the cylinder, the cylinder is always square on these engines somehow. I have no idea why. So, put a torque plate on it, hone the cylinders, get them round, where they're actually round, not square. Still have no idea how GM does square bores, but whatever. Then deck height, obviously, you're allowed to be 9-inch 19. Most of the stuff coming out right now is like really on the tall side. So it's like 9-inch 29, 9-inch 30, honestly, is some of the stuff we've been seeing. So we actually put everything in 9-inch 21, which leaves 2 thousandths error for, idiot tech manufacturer. And then cylinder head wise, we fixed the valve job on them, which, normally the valve jobs, kind of pure shit from General Motors. Well, I mean, they got people. It's not General Motors doing it. They're subcontracting to people to do the heads. So normally that's like shit. So we fix that and then get the combustion chamber volume right. And obviously reassemble everything. And
don't you do like some conditioning of the rods?
Recondition rods. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Usually the rods are tight. I don't think I've seen an actual rod on size from GM in 5-6 years. They're almost always tight.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, but you were saying something about the crank bores or something. Is that something different that is this something you've added to your?
No, main bearing bores. So, I mean, if they need it, they need it. If they don't, we don't do anything. So.
Okay. Well, that helps because I needed some more information from my description on my engine. Yeah, that works. But also, I think a lot of people don't know what does it mean to blueprint an engine, and nobody really says all of the things. Right. So I'm glad.
Again, we do what GM can't do, and make all these things equal.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Charles says, "What's Alex's schedule look like?"
I don't know. Honestly, you'll have to contact him. Because I don't know what I know he's got a race coming up here in the next week or two. It's not next week, but it's going to be first part of August. I think it's like a 20 grand to win 604 race he's going to go to. He's basically bouncing back and forth between limited racing with his 525 and the 604 stuff.
Mm-hmm. He'll probably post it up on his racing page.
I'm sure he will. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Mike has been a longtime viewer of the show, and so he knows you well, and he says, look, Steve suggests avgas, which is a running joke. Anybody who's new to the podcast, no, we do not recommend avgas. But it stirs people up over on YouTube.
Oh, I don't get them all fired up.
People have very special, strong feelings about avgas. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. And Shane says, hey, Steve or Kate and Steve, how goes it? Love the podcast. A Monday night ritual for us. Keep up the good work.
Awesome.
Thank you for watching. And Darren says, does Steve have an IMCA crate rebuilder he recommends?
I
don't know of any rebuilders, but if you need a new engine and you need one that's dynoed, I'd say call Al Walters over at Freeze and Chevrolet.
Al, the guy Al deals with, I can't remember this man's name. I've met him like probably freaking 5 times, but I believe he can act. I would call Al Walters at Freeze. Yeah, because I believe that they can actually rebuild and seal right now, or not necessarily. Or they can repair.
They can be a repair center.
They're a repair center.
Yeah.
So I would definitely call Al Walters and ask him.
Mm-hmm. All right, and Bobby says, "I'll never run any crate motor again. Yours has been the best."
Oh, thank you, man. Yeah. Appreciate it.
Gotcha. And Jason's back, and he says, agree on it's an insurance policy and not a 40 horsepower gain like racers tell their buddies.
Correct.
So when you blueprint an engine, some people tend to believe that it's going to give some major performance advantage. The performance advantage is just that your engine is going to, you can be sure that your engine is going to be able to perform.
Well, it's not only the racers telling their buddies, but it's also certain engine builders out there telling everyone that, hey, I can gain you this much power. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you'd have asked me that same question in 2007, I'd have told you 20 horsepower all day long. And I wouldn't be lying. Today, if I said that, I'd be lying because I don't know what it could be. What day of the week was it built on? How the tolerances stack? I mean, so no, I would never say that anymore. Nowadays, exactly what I say is exactly what's true. It's an insurance policy, and we do what GM can't do and make them all equal.
Now, Mike has a question. He says, do or can you reseal engines with genuine GM seals?
No, you cannot.
Nobody can.
No.
So it's not just you. It's nobody can. No. Yeah. But James says, but you don't sell the rated rockers. I'll be damned.
I sell extra heavy push rods, which makes up for the rated rockers.
There we go.
I heard that one this weekend, by the way.
Funny they're not on my website. Bobby says, best crate motor we ever had. We'll definitely purchase another soon. Very pleased. Great. Well, if you need one really soon, I have one.
Yep.
And as soon as that one's gone, I will have another. And another.
Yep.
And Brian says, make sure it's put together correctly versus slapped together with your blueprint.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all of that is really important. All right. Well, I mean, we're up on time here. You're on your last sip of beer.
I'm going to go meet my buddy John and have a sandwich.
All righty. Well, I want to, thank you guys for really sticking with us this week with all of our technical, who knows what the heck was going on there.
Yeah.
Really apologize for that.
Sincere difficulty there.
Yeah. And do you have any final words before we close things up?
I do not. Everyone have a glorious week.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. If you are wherever you're catching this, we can also offer this as a podcast that is over on Apple iTunes, on Spotify, at any of those places where you listen to podcasts. And it just goes up the day after we go live. And if you're listening to the podcast and you want to catch us live, we're live on Monday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern. So thanks again for joining us and look forward to seeing you next week. See ya.